I want you to picture the ideal employee for a second. Or, the ideal student. Just for a moment, visualize them. What are they doing? I'd bet you're picturing someone fast. Someone who has their hand up before the question is even finished. Someone who clears their inbox by noon.
Right.
We are just absolutely obsessed with speed as a proxy for competence. If you're fast, you're smart. If you're slow, well.
You must be struggling. It's the download speed model of intellect. We treat human brains like they're fiber optic cables. The higher the bandwidth, the better the mind.
But today, we're looking at a document that basically just pulls the emergency brake on that entire worldview, and honestly, it made me a little uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable is good. That means we're hitting on something real.
It definitely challenges the very definition of what it means to be, quote, productive.
And what's so unique about today's deep dive is the source itself. We aren't analyzing a white paper or, a news article. We are looking at a job application.
Yeah, but calling it a job application feels like a massive undersell. It's titled, What If English Were Taught by a Gestalt Mind? It's from a teacher who is looking to move to a new school, but it reads like a philosophical manifesto from someone who is just done playing the game.
It's a proposal, really. It's a proposal for a whole different way of existing within an institution. The author is looking for a new home, but they aren't listing their typing speed.
Right, or their ability to chaperone prom.
Exactly. They're outlining a philosophy of slow cognition.
Slow cognition.
Yeah.
Let's start right there, because in 2026, slow is usually a synonym for obsolete.
It is.
If I went into a job interview and told a potential boss, hey, my biggest strength is that I think slowly, I'd probably be laughed out of the room. How is this teacher pitching that as a feature, not a bug?
Well, you have to look at what they're contrasting it with. The source explicitly sets up this dichotomy between productivity and depth. In the modern education system, and this applies to the corporate world too, we prioritize output. How many essays did you grade? How many units did you cover? That's productivity.
It's all about the metrics.
But the author argues that productivity often comes at the cost of depth. They write about the difference between speed and intelligence. They're making the case that we've completely conflated the two.
We assume the kid who answers in 2 seconds gets the material better than the kid who answers in 2 minutes.
Exactly. But the author suggests that the fast answer is often just simulation.
Simulation? You mean like faking it?
Not necessarily in a malicious way. It's more like mimicking, pattern matching.
Oh, I see.
I know the teacher wants to hear X, so I'll say X. That's fast. But slow cognition, as this document defines it, is about allowing thinking to unfold. It's the difference between microwaving a meal and slow roasting it. One gets you fed in 3 minutes. The other one actually develops flavor.
Okay, but let's play devil's advocate here. We don't live in a slow roast world.
Not at all.
We live in a microwave world. If this teacher's students go out into the workforce and they need 3 days to, metabolize an email, they're going to get fired. Is this philosophy actually serving the students? Or is it just a nice romantic idea?
And that is the central tension the author is grappling with. They aren't saying be slow for the sake of being lazy. They're saying that certain types of literacy, specifically whole text literacy and narrative power, simply cannot be acquired at speed.
You can't rush them.
You can't. If you force speed, you lose the capacity for complex thought. So the argument becomes, do you want a student who can quickly fill out a form? Or a student who can analyze a complex system? Because you might not be able to get both with the same method.
And that ties into the title, right? Gestalt mind. I feel like we toss that word around, Gestalt, but what does it actually mean in this context?
It's a German term, and it roughly translates to shape or form. But in psychology, it really means looking at the whole rather than just the sum of its parts.
So not missing the forest for the trees.
Precisely. In an English class, the parts would be things like grammar rules, vocabulary lists, sentence diagramming.
All the stuff you memorize.
Right. A non-Gestalt approach teaches those in isolation. You learn the rule for a semicolon today. You learn 10 words tomorrow. A Gestalt approach says, no, we start with the whole text. We start with the meaning, the story, the context. We understand the language as a living system, not a bucket of bolts.
Which sounds great, but I imagine it's an absolute nightmare to grade. You can't run a Scantron on meaning.
You can't. And that's why this teacher seems to feel like an alien in their current school. They describe their situation with a really striking phrase.
What's that?
They say they travel a long distance every day to a place where their methods are tolerated but not fully metabolized.
Metabolized. Wow. I circled that word about 5 times. Such a visceral biological metaphor. Usually we talk about integration or alignment. Why metabolism?
Think about what happens when you eat something. If your body tolerates food, it just means you don't throw it up.
Okay, yeah.
It passes through, maybe you get a few calories, but it's still largely separate from you. But if you metabolize something, you break it down. It enters your bloodstream, it becomes part of your muscle, your bone, your energy. It actually changes you.
So this teacher feels like, what, just roughage?
Yeah. Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
They feel like a foreign object. The school allows them to be there, probably because their results are good, but the institution itself refuses to learn from them. The system hasn't changed to incorporate this slow cognition.
It just tolerates it, like a quirk from one eccentric employee.
Exactly.
That sounds deeply lonely. I think a lot of people listening can relate to that. You're doing good work, but you know that if you left tomorrow, the culture of the place wouldn't shift 1 inch. You haven't been metabolized.
And that leads directly to the ask in this application. The author isn't just asking for a job, they're asking for a context.
A context.
They want to stop commuting from the ridge, which seems to be both a literal place they live and a metaphor for their isolation, and work somewhere that views their method not as risk, but as capacity.
Not as risk, but as capacity. I mean, that's the disconnect for so many managers, isn't it? A manager looks at a slow process and sees risk. We're going to fall behind. This author's saying, no, you're looking at it all wrong. This is a capacity you don't currently have.
Exactly. It's the capacity for depth. And here is where the author drops the phrase that I think just defines the whole manifesto. They say they don't want to be disruptor.
Oh.
They want to be a quiet upgrade.
Okay, I have to stop you there because quiet upgrade is just brilliant branding. In tech, in business, everyone wants to be a disruptor.
Yeah. Move fast and break this.
Disrupt the industry. This person's saying, please, God, let's not break anything else.
It's a very mature pushback against that whole disruption narrative. Disruption is noisy. It's chaotic. Often it destroys things of value just to prove that it can. An upgrade is seamless. It takes what's already there and just makes it function at a higher level.
But quiet is the key word. It implies that you might not even notice it happening at first.
Right. It's a quiet upgrade in how thinking is allowed to unfold. And that passive voice, allowed to unfold, is so damning.
How so?
It suggests that currently, thinking is being suppressed. It's being compressed into these tiny, fast packets. The upgrade is simply removing that compression and letting the mind breathe.
Okay, so we have the philosophy. Slow cognition, gestalt mind, quiet upgrade. But I can hear the skeptics and maybe the school board members thinking, this sounds like a lot of academic fluff.
Sure.
Where is the proof? Can this person actually teach kids to read and write? Or is this just some high concept theory?
A very valid question. And the source anticipates it. The author just bluntly states, I have already written the what.
So they're not just riffing.
Not at all. They have a methodology. They cite 2 of their own books to back this all up.
Okay, let's dig into these books, because the titles alone signal that this isn't just about teaching The Great Gatsby a little slower. The first one is from 2024, Holistic Language Instruction.
This one is the manual. The author describes it as the architecture of a literacy practice. Notice that engineering language architecture. This deals with coherence, meaning, and whole text orientation.
So this is the practical side of the whole gestalt idea.
Right. If you're building a house, you don't just throw a pile of bricks, the vocabulary and wood, the grammar, at a kid and hope a house appears.
No, you need a blueprint.
You need architecture. You need a design that holds it all together. That's what this book offers. A structural way to teach English where the whole is the foundation, not just an afterthought.
But the second book takes this in a direction I did not see coming. It's listed as a 2025 title, Decolonizing Language Education.
And this is crucial. If you skip this part, you miss the entire political weight of the slow cognition argument.
Connect the dots for me. How do you get from slowing down to decolonizing?
Okay, think about what speed does. When you are forced to move fast, when you are under pressure to produce instant output, what do you fall back on?
Instinct, habit, the easy answer.
You fall back on the default, the standard, the dominant culture. You don't have time to consider alternative perspectives or nuance or non-standard ways of speaking and thinking. Speed reinforces the status quo.
Yeah.
So in a colonized education system, the correct English, the correct interpretation, is almost always the one that serves the dominant power structure.
Whoa. Okay. So rushing doesn't just make you sloppy, it makes you compliant.
In a way, yes. The author notes that this book traces structural and historical forces. It asks whose language is valued, whose minds are centered.
Right.
And if you want to center a mind that has historically been marginalized, say a student communicating in a different dialect or a student whose cultural storytelling structure is more circular than linear, you need time. You need that metabolic process to understand them. You cannot grade them on a speed run.
So slow cognition is actually a tool for equity. It's saying we need to slow down the assembly line so we can actually see the human beings on it.
Precisely. If you are grading for speed and for standard compliance, you are, by definition, filtering out diversity. But if you grade for narrative power and whole text literacy, you open the door for different kinds of brilliance to shine through. That's the upgrade.
It's a heavy lift, though. It's asking a school to fundamentally change how it values time. And the author acknowledges this isn't a plea for special treatment. They say, I teach from memory, not myth. That line felt like a riddle to me. What's the myth and what's the memory?
The myth, I think, is the story the education system tells itself. The myth that standardized testing measures intelligence.
The myth that faster is smarter.
Exactly. The myth that we can treat students like data points and still get human results. We all kind of know deep down that these are myths, but we keep acting like they're true because it keeps the machine running.
And the memory.
Memory is embodied knowledge. It's what this teacher knows in their bones from years of practice. They remember how actual human learning happens. It happens in fits and starts. It happens through connection. It happens through story.
So they're saying, I am operating based on the reality of the human mind, not the mythology of the school board.
It's an assertion of authority. I know how this works. Do you want to listen?
It's incredibly confident. It completely flips the power dynamic of a job application. Usually the applicant is begging to be let in. Here, the applicant is asking, are you capable of holding what I am bringing? It just reminds me of that line about the commute again. They want to serve students daily, locally, and with continuity. They want to bring this high-level, structural, decolonized thinking right down to the local level. They want to be a neighbor, not just a consultant flying in from somewhere else.
And that's the tragedy of the current situation. They're commuting from the ridge, wasting hours on the road, leaving their energy on the highway.
Yeah.
If the school hired them and really metabolized them, all of that wasted energy would be redirected straight into the classroom community.
It's an efficiency argument, strangely enough. For all the talk of slow, they're arguing that the current system is incredibly wasteful. It wastes talent. It wastes energy. It wastes the potential of students who don't fit the mold.
That's the beautiful irony of it. Slow cognition might actually be the most efficient way to get to real understanding. We spend so much time reteaching things because kids just memorize them for a test and then forgot them 2 days later.
That's inefficient.
It's wildly inefficient. But building a gestalt, understanding that lasts a lifetime. Now that's efficiency.
So as we wrap this up, I'm thinking about the people listening to this. Most of them aren't English teachers. Maybe they're coding or managing a sales team or raising kids. Why does this manifesto matter to them?
Because we're all living under the regime of speed. We're all being told that if we aren't disrupting, we're dying. And this source offers a kind of permission structure to opt out of that race.
A permission structure to be a quiet upgrade.
Right. Ask yourself, in your own team or your own family, are you tolerating the deep sinkers or are you metabolizing them? Are you actually letting their way of seeing the world change your systems?
Or are you just keeping them in a cubicle in the corner because they don't reply to Slack messages fast enough?
That's the killer question. Are we confusing fast with good? And are we missing out on the gestalt, the whole picture, because we're too busy just staring at the second hand on the clock?
The author challenges us to stop looking for the next big disruption and start looking for the capacity we're currently ignoring.
The capacity for depth. It's already there. We just have to slow down enough to recognize it.
I teach from memory, not myth. I think I'm going to put that on a sticky note. A huge thank you to the author of this proposal. Wherever you are, I hope you found a place that didn't just tolerate you, but metabolized you.
I hope so too.
And thank you for listening to this deep dive. Go give your brain a little time to slow roast on this one. We'll see you next time.